Hi, Brandon. Just your assessments after day two with the guys that you got.
How we doing, Joe? Really excited. I felt like it was a really productive day. Felt like we got a lot of really good value. Felt like we were able to follow our draft board. I felt like all three players that we selected tonight, we had, really good grades on, really thorough evaluations, both with the personnel side and the coaching side. And I feel like it really came together nicely tonight.
With the pick of Palmer in round three, how much did Derek Ainsley's evaluations help?
Yeah, Joe, it played a component in it. I think that certainly it starts with our area scouts, and then Kevin Kelly and his side of the college side of our personnel staff, and then JoJo Wooten kind of tying it all together for us. And then when we got into the coaching side of things, there was a lot of like for this player from Chris Beatty, our receiver coach, and Joe Lombardi, our offensive coordinator. And then, just going back to DA, who had to defend him every day in practice, you just get a strong sense of his makeup, strong sense of his work ethic, just how talented he is. Derek Ansley has been at Bama, a lot of the premier programs in the country. He knows the defensive backs that this guy's got to beat. And then, DA also, coached with the Raiders. So we felt like we had a really strong sense of Josh as a player. And we just felt like we had a really thorough evaluation, and the SEC was outstanding in the Senior Bowl. And I felt like, evaluating all these DBs in the secondary, I felt like this guy just kept showing up over and over and over again. That's what I told Josh when I called him. So just feel like this guy's a complete player, and adds to a really good room that we have already.
I think Joe froze up on us. Dennis.
Brandon, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Dennis. How are you?
I'm doing great. You already have four tight ends on the roster. You have now with Tre. Where will he fit in at for you?
Yeah, we really believe in having tight ends on the roster. We feel like the more tight ends that you have on the roster, the more advantage that you can have formationally, and really dictating the terms to the defense. And the more gaps you create in the run game, and the more vertical threats you create in the passing game. And we felt like there's evidence of Tre playing on the line of scrimmage, which is rare this day and age in the Premier League in the country, in the SEC this past year, and then certainly at Florida State. And just felt like we had a really thorough evaluation of him as a tight end, playing in a pro-style offense at Georgia and at Florida State, and then how he competed at the Senior Bowl, how he worked out. Just felt like we had a player that could play Y. Those guys are difficult to find, but also a guy, that can get vertical in the seam, that can create separation, that has strong hands. And so we just felt really good about him, and adding to a room that we're already excited about. So, feel like there's going to be really good depth there at that position. And he's a big guy. Adding size to our offense, that was a big goal of ours.
Would you consider him more like a stretch tight end, somebody who just stretch the field?
I see him as a Y tight end that can play on the line of scrimmage, and then a guy that can play off the line as our F tight end as well. He's a guy that we feel like has dual flex, but we kind of feel like where he's different is that he can play on the line of scrimmage, and we felt like that was a dimension that we wanted to add to our offense.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh,
Hey, Brandon. Asante Samuel Jr. in the second round, when we talked to you a few weeks ago, you said that being able to play man-to-man is the priority when you're evaluating corners. Just how much did that jump out to you when you were evaluating him in this process?
Yeah, I think Daniel, this guy's just really instinctive. He can play bump and run. He can play off. This guy's got outstanding feet. He's got really good concept trigger. When he's off and he's visual off the quarterback, being able to see the quarterback first, then the receiver. This guy's got a really good feel for route concepts, and you really see a guy that can key diagnose. And so that really jumps off the page. He's got outstanding quickness. And then this guy can judge the ball in the deep part of the field. This guy's got really good ball skills. This guy can play in and out of phase. And I just think that this guy's a really well-rounded player. He's a good open field tackler. And then we feel like he has position flexibility. So just feel like he's a complete DB. He's really tough, competitive, a fearless competitor, and that's what we were looking for.
You've got two guys now in that secondary with Chris and Asante that can play inside, can play outside. Are you getting closer to sort of having that flexibility that you're looking for in the back end?
Yeah, Daniel, I think it's an advantage. We want guys that can play outside. Chris has certainly proven that he can play outside, and then certainly he's made his name inside as an All-Pro player and one of the better inside players of the last decade plus. So the fact that Asante played primarily outside at Florida State, and that's how Chris played at Kansas. He was primarily an outside corner, but we just feel like in our secondary right now we're getting closer to the way we want to play with Derwin's flexibility, Nas. We just feel like we've got some chess pieces there that we can work with, and certainly excited about what Asante brings to the table.
And then just with Josh Palmer, Tom mentioned that he's a good fit in the offense. Just how do you see him fitting into the scheme that you guys are running?
Yeah, Daniel, I think he's a guy that can play outside. He can play X or Z for us. Truly he can be an outside receiver. And I think that, he's got a really good body, really strong, physical, can really run the route tree out there and get separation against press. We really, believe in an outside receivers. Can you beat press? It kind of starts there. Can you beat press coverage? And then can you separate level 2? And then what's your ball judge like level 3? He had, he kind of clicked all 3 of those boxes for us. And then we do feel like he can go inside to the slot, and run that tree as well, and gives us a bigger bodied guy, right, that can, sort of match up against smaller, nickel type people. So, or a linebacker to be able to get that separation. So just feel like he's a complete player, and we're really excited about him. He really showed up a lot in the evaluation process.
You mentioned that obviously Derek Ansley was coaching against him every day in practice. What did he tell you about those practices that impressed you at Tennessee?
That he's a pro, that he takes his craft really seriously, and you can tell by his route detail. If you watch this guy, he's got the route detail. If you take a look at his Senior Bowl, being able to separate against those corners that were in that All-Star game. But all you got to do is watch the film in that league against Georgia, against Bama. You saw the DBs that got taken off both those teams, and how he performed in both those games. I think will tell you a lot about who he is. And I think that he's just got really good makeup too. So just excited about what he brings. We know what we have. We know what we have with Mike and Keenan. We've got 2 of the premier wideouts in the NFL, and we felt like we could add another weapon to go along with T. Billy, Jalen Guyton, Joe Reed. We feel like, hey, you added Tre McKitty, and now you're close to where you want to be as an offense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cam.
Hey, good evening, Brandon.
Hey, Cam.
You kind of described a lot of what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about the size of Asante Samuel Jr. and did that really concern you? And you just talked a lot about the attributes that you liked about him. All of those, I'm assuming, obviously, you felt good enough about his instincts, his feet, his ability to play both inside and out to go ahead and draft him, right?
I do, yeah. I said to you guys a while back about corners. They come in all shapes and sizes. I don't think everybody in the NFL is 6 foot or over. As a matter of fact, the data will show you that it's the opposite. And I think, but what you do have to take in consideration, Cam, to your point, which is a good one, is that if they are in that 5'10", 5'10 and a half, under 5'11 range, do they have that other stuff that can allow them to climb the ladder with big guys? Because we all know the type of caliber receivers that are out wide, and the tight ends now that are out wide, Kelsey, Waller, all these guys that are split out. The Atlanta guy that they drafted 4th overall, those guys are showing up outside. So we just felt like, there's a lot of evidence of Asante playing out there. And then I think the one thing that we just really value with this guy is that he can get you the ball. He's got those instincts, that processor, that concept trigger that can get you the football, and he's got a really good body. If you take a look at him, this guy is a really strong player, and I feel like he's a complete DB for us.
Thank you for that explanation, Coach. You guys just changed the lives of some players, obviously, and now you get a chance to coach them up. What part of this process do you enjoy the most?
Well, I told you guys I'm a sucker for the NFL draft now. I love it. I love all of it because dreams are coming true right before your eyes, and you can't get enough of the stories of where these guys come from and seeing their families. And that's what I reminded all the guys is make sure you thank all the people who helped you make it, And at the same time, this is just a beginning for all of you. As much as this is a dream come true, you're just at the beginning, and there's a lot of work to do. When you get to next week, you're going to be joining up with some of the best players in the world. So, and I think that what we love to do and why we do it is we love to compete. And I think that that's really your dream coming true, is being able to compete doing what you love. And I think that that's what makes the game special. And I think, what I'm excited about, these 4 guys that we've been, able to join up with, they're competitors and they fit the way we want to play. And I think that, maybe even as important is the players on our team. These guys are worthy of joining up with the guys we already have on our team. And that's important. We want to make sure that we onboard guys that all these special players who we already have, they can say, hey, that guy's one of us. So that's very important to us too.
Speaking of that, you're talking about the culture there that you've worked on the last 5 months. What do you talk to these new recruits? What do you tell them, or how do you describe the Los Angeles Chargers culture that you've been working on to these players, or do you just kind of let them experience that?
Yeah, we're going to have to get to work on that right away, and hopefully, because we're at the beginning, that we don't skip any steps with them. We have a little bit of a head start with the veteran group, the guys coming back, but it's really important for us that we don't skip any steps with the rookies, that they go through that same onboarding process that we've had with the team that's already here in place. And we got to make sure that we go back and do that. And then hopefully, because we're off to a start with the older guys, some of these guys who have played a lot of football, hopefully they can help us accelerate that process. And hopefully they can be that mouthpiece for us where, hey, your players turn into your coaches. You got a good thing if your players turn into your coaches, and hopefully they start sounding like we do. And that's why I love our team so far, because I know that that's exactly what's going to happen.
And things are progressing as you planned? The development of your culture is progressing as you planned here?
Each and every day. We had meetings this morning at Friday. That's why I was excited. Everyone said, hey, are you excited about the draft? I said, well, yeah, but the first thing, we're going to have big-time meetings before the draft. From 8 to 10, we're going to meet with these guys, and we're going to try and compete as best as anybody in the world. So that's what we started out with, and then we get to compete tonight with the draft process and being able to pick some guys that are going to make us a better team. So really excited about our start to the draft, and now we got to finish tomorrow.
And then lastly for me, Coach, you said you meet with the guys. Are you guys meeting in person now, or is everything still through Zoom?
Still virtual. Yep.
Still virtual.
Zoom world.
Okay.
Just like us. Just like us, guys.
Come
Just
on,
like
let's
us.
put a change to this, Coach. Change this up for us.
Zoom world. Got to get vaccinated. We got to get everybody safe. Got to get everybody healthy.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Have a good night.
The NFL says we're not allowed to, Cam. Let's go back to Joe Reedy.
Brandon, in the case of Tre McKitty, he had 4 different offensive systems, 4 different coordinators in 4 years. Just how much do you look at a football aptitude of a guy like that and his ability to adapt through all of that?
I think it's a component in it. I know certainly you guys went through that last year with Justin Herbert, having to go through all that. So I think it says a lot about a guy, his aptitude for the game. And I think just competing at the level he was competing at too, Joe, at a Florida State. You're playing against Clemson. You're playing against, a lot of high-level competition. And then he goes in the SEC this past year with Georgia, kind of in a COVID year, abbreviated off-season, being able to join up with those guys. And, a lot of respect for Kirby Smart, Todd Monken on offense. Those guys do a really good job coaching. So just felt like we were getting a really good evaluation of the guy, and felt like, you could really see a projection to a guy that could play that position in the NFL.
As far as the 3 guys who you drafted tonight, do you see any special teams versatility with them?
Yeah, there has to be. I think there has to be. I think that's something we're attracted to all these guys. I feel like whether, it's Asante being a complete DB, a guy that can do a lot of things, hold up, gunner, guy, kickoff, you name it. I know Asante could catch a punt if he had to. And then, with Josh, he's got that body that I was talking about, a guy that can really help you on special teams because he can be a matchup guy, a guy that can really, change the math that way, is a guy that could really help Darius and Mayer out on special teams. And then Tre certainly has that body type as well, a bigger skill player that can play on the interior. And a lot of our, protection phases, and then certainly could be a guy that could be on the interior on kickoff as well.